this morning, but go ahead and just come into a comfortable shape, stretch things out, move things around a little bit. So before we get too settled into our seat, just take a few moments and move in a few different ways that feel good to you. So if you feel any tightness in any particular body part, any little bit of stiffness, I know these cold mornings, at least for me, it kind of all feels a little bit stiff. So just check out a little bit of movement. You know, if there's areas you know that you tend to hold a little bit of tension in, focus maybe a little bit more on those areas, but take the next few breaths and just kind of get yourself prepared for our seat. So a little bit of movement to warm things up, loosen things up. And then eventually you're just going to start to make your way into a Sukhasana or other comfortable seat. So sitting cross-legged is not comfortable for you. By all means, sit another way, but you want to be able to sit close to the edge of your prop, your folded blanket here, so that you get just a tiny little bit of a forward tilt here of your pelvis. Exaggerate a little bit as you roll the shoulders back and down. So out of habit, so many times we just start to kind of fall into this shape. So start with it overdone so that when we fall, we don't fall quite as far. Roll those shoulders back and really try to feel just a little extra broadening here through the front of the chest and the collarbones. Let your hands just rest. You want to give your hands support so that there's not any extra pressure on the shoulders. And then take a moment, close your eyes. And with the eyes closed, see if you can really start to focus on just relaxing the muscles of your face. So there's no need for any particular expression. We're not, looking at anything particular. So just try to let all the muscles around your eyes be nice and soft. Try to let the muscles around your mouth, around your jaw also become more relaxed and slack. So rather than teeth clenching together, we want just a bit of softness, a bit of space. Feel like your tongue is just sort of loosely floating in your mouth as opposed to glued or plastered up against any part. So really just looking for ease right now. We're trying to find a pretty natural shape to our spine, to our skeleton here, support it with our abdominal muscles. But other than that, really trying to let everything be pretty relaxed. Not a whole lot of effort going into any of it. And then check in with your breath. So if there's any part of the breath that feels a little bit constricted, maybe you can't quite take that deep breath, see if there's something you can do, whether it's a physical adjustment of your body or just a little bit more intention behind the breath. But we want to bring ourselves into that space where we're able to take just some nice deep and full breaths here. So let that breath begin to elongate, coming to whatever count it is that is good for you. So you want just a nice long and full breath. We're going to add just really simple movement with the arms here. So take your arms by your side. Again, really try to focus on shoulders back and down and give a little stretch to the palms here. So especially if you spend a lot of time typing or doing other things with the hands, try to actually stretch out those palms a little bit. And a few rounds of sun breath. So just simple as you inhale, it's the full duration of your inhale. Those hands start to rise above the head. Palms of the hands pointing forward, a nice active reach, and the opposite as you exhale, that nice long reach, you slowly lower your arms back by your side. So you can do this with the eyes closed. I want you to just try to match your breath. So you might be moving at the same pace I am, you might not. Doesn't matter. I want you to just align the movement with your natural breath. And when I say your natural breath, a nice long, deep breath. And really try to make that movement nice and slow, nice and steady. So that it lasts the full duration of your in or exhale. And then if you'd like to add on a little bit, you can start to add some head movement as well. So when the hands come by your side, your chin tucks in towards your chest, looking down towards your lap. And as you inhale, you slowly start to lift the gaze. So at the very top of that inhale, you're looking up towards your thumbs. So again, you can choose to add that little bit of head movement if for whatever reason it just doesn't feel good. Either make it smaller or don't do it at all. Take about 3 more breaths. Whenever you next reach those hands overhead, that's where we're going to meet. So there's no rush to get there, but you're going to finish off that next inhale and those hands are going to stretch above the head. And we're going to twist this time on the exhale. So turn over to your left. You're going to take your left hand behind you, either to the floor or to your prop, but perch up to those left fingertips. You want to try to give yourself as much space as you can to sit tall. And you want to feel like that right sit bone stays really anchored here. So we're not turning the hips at all. We're not taking any weight out of the sit bones. We're just turning the chest. Couple more of your deepest breaths. Try to feel that breath nice and strong, nice and steady. It does take a little more effort when we sit like this and twist to breathe deeply. One more breath in. And then squeeze the belly. Exhale back to center. Hands come back by your side. We'll take a big breath in, rise up. And opposite side as you exhale, turn it over to your right. Again, root down through those right fingertips. Make sure your left sit bone plugs down. However far you turn the head really just depends on what feels okay on your neck. And just a couple more big breaths. So really feel that nice even weight through both of your sit bones and feel a nice lift here through the crown of the head. One more breath in. And then squeeze the belly. Exhale back to center. Take a big breath in, reach up. And just lower hands to heart this time as you exhale. Big breath out. Bring the hands down, we'll release the arms and try to remember which leg you have crossed in front. So we're going to take the legs out to a V, hold on to that information for the next few moments. Remember which leg is in front. Roll out your ankles a few times, point and flex, and just notice how that affects what you're feeling in your leg. You can also use your hands and just get a little manual reset here for the thighs. Kind of loosen things up. Take another big breath. And then you're going to make your way into that opposite cross. So the other leg is going to come in front. You're still nice and close here to the front edge of your blanket. You want to feel like your belly button points slightly downward versus rolling back in. And again, exaggerate, roll those shoulders really back and down. This time, lift the palms of your hands. Close your eyes and again, just check if anything feels uncomfortable or tight or not like it's quite positioned properly. Take a few moments to adjust that. Otherwise, just see if you can tap back into your breathing and find just the deepest, strongest breath that you can. See if when you inhale, you can feel that fullness in your rib cage. So you feel that expansion. And you feel the full release as you exhale. Take your sweet time and just allow every single drop of that breath to go. Let's take one more breath here. And then on that next inhale, arms lift overhead, take a long reach. We're going to tilt to the left as you exhale, coming into a side bend. Now you can stay on your left fingertips, you can flatten your palm, you can bend your elbow. So whatever depth works. Definitely do bend that top elbow a little bit, cactusing the arm. Double check your right sit bone, keep it rooted. And then from here, you can stay, or again, you can add a little bit of movement for the head and neck here. You can take a breath looking down at your hand. And then take a breath looking up towards that top arm. And then from there, you can continue either to kind of shake the head no or add a little bit of other movement. As always, if the head movement is bothersome to your neck, just opt out. Take a couple more big breaths here. I want you to really feel lots and lots of space here down that right side. One more breath. And then inhale, push off that left hand, rise up, take a long reach. And we'll switch as you exhale, right fingertips or palm down. Bend the elbow a little bit, cactus that top arm, and really drive that left sit bone down into your prop. Stretch as long as you can to that left side. Consider taking a breath looking down at that right hand. And then a breath looking up at that top arm. And again, from there, you can choose to add more or less head movement in and just see how it all goes. One more of your biggest breaths. And then inhale, rise. Once again, both arms lift. And this time, just exhale, bring your hands to your heart. We'll roll forward. Come onto the hands and the knees. So take your hands down under your shoulders. Either toss your blanket off to the side, or you can spread it out under your knees if you'd like a bit of extra cushioning. But start with your foundation. So see if you can really spread your fingers to a comfortable width apart, but still spread apart enough that you can really root all of your knuckles, the full length of each finger down into your mat. Take your knees right under your hips, soften your elbows a little bit, and then just start to add some movement. So start to take a little bit of movement in here around the spine. Try to let your breath stay nice and steady. And just let that movement go where it goes here. So finding whatever it is that feels good in your body. Again, it's a little bit of a time to just check it out and explore. And then from here, we'll walk our hands about halfway back. So about halfway back between where they are and your knees. Tuck your toes and give just a couple little pulses here in through the soles of the feet. So if this is pretty intense, you don't have to push back as far. You don't have to obviously hold very long. If it feels pretty good and you want a little more stretch for the feet, you're gonna let your hips really settle back to your heels. Let your hands walk in and maybe even lift your hands up off the floor, really driving a little bit more weight in through the feet. Again, this is an option. If it doesn't feel good, just opt out. Let's take another big breath. And then inhale, rise, lift up to kneeling, take a big sweep of the arms. And then hands down to your low back as you exhale, modified camel, shrug it back, lift and open that chest, try to hug your elbows in towards one another. I want you to feel like you're flaring out a little bit through the rib cage. And still maintain a nice deep breath. It can take a little bit more effort to fill or to feel full when you're in this shape. Another big breath in. And then use the core, exhale it back to center. We'll plant hands back down, walk your hands forward again so they're under your shoulders, and then a little tap out of your feet, just let it go. And then from here, we're going to keep that left hand on the mat as it is, and inhale, right hand up to the sky, threading the needle. As we exhale, dive that right arm underneath, reach it towards the opposite wall. And you want to set the weight down into your upper arm bone. So try to keep more weight in your arm than you have in your head. You're not putting a lot of pressure on the head or neck here. Hips can stay high, so hips can stay lifted up towards the ceiling here, more or less stacked above your knees. And then that left arm, just find something to do with it. It really is not important. If it feels awkward where it lands, you can always stretch it out in front of you a little bit or loop it behind your back. But let the weight drive down into that right upper arm and just get a nice little rotation here through that upper spine. We'll stretch in through the back of your right shoulder as well. Another breath. And we're going to take that left hand, slide it under your shoulder, spread your fingers wide. And a big breath in, we unwind. Right hand back to the sky. Nice big reach, and then right hand to the floor as you exhale. Both of your hands come down, and before we switch sides, just take a moment, reset any part of your body that needs a little shift, a little adjustment. And you're going to keep that right hand anchored as is, and inhale, left hand now to sky. Dive under as you exhale, moving into that threaded needle here. The bulk of the weight in your arm bone, not a lot in your neck or head. Right arm, just finding somewhere to go. Hips can stay high. And again, just intensify the posture by finding a bit more space through your breath. And one more breath. And from here, we're going to slide that right hand back to the floor, spread your fingers, and inhale, unwind. Left hand up to the ceiling. Exhale, left hand back to mat. Place both hands under your shoulders and then walk your hands forward 2 or 3 little steps here so that you're in more of a supported plank. So now instead of being above your knees, your hips are out in front of your knees. Soften your elbows. Again, really try to push the length of each finger to the mat. Engage a bit through the core. Now you can stay here, or you can start to tuck your toes, lift your knees, and come into a full plank. So you can find what works for you. Again, staying on the knees is always an option. You just want to try to keep your hips shoulder height are a little bit lower. So if you start to lift your hips up higher than your shoulders, you probably want to come down to your knees. And just a nice easy gaze. So look down at the mat or even close your eyes. Try to keep the joints soft so your elbows unlocked. Very much pushing down through the length of each finger, through each knuckle. Take another deep breath in. And then push to down dog as you exhale. So now sending those hips high, checking the space between your feet. Try to keep them at least hips width distance apart. Pedal it out, bend and straighten. Any other little bits of movement here that feel good to you? We'll be here for about 3 to 4 more big breaths. Another big breath in. A slow walk forward as you exhale. You can creep your feet up to your hands, bend your knees quite a bit and let your head hang. And just give it a few big breaths. So just let yourself drape forward over your knees here. Any little rock, any little sway. Take the movements that feel good to you. Take another big breath. And then on that next inhale, lift up halfway. Lengthen your spine, chest forward, and exhale, just settle back in, soften in. This time, rise up to standing as you inhale. Take a big reach and take those hands overhead. Interlace your thumbs together. Make sure your knees are soft, and as you exhale, a tiny, almost like you're trying to cactus the arms, but you've got that little bit of a resistance here through the thumbs. So pull your elbows back and down, lift your chest, but feel like you're trying to separate your hands. Take another breath in, and then firm the belly. Exhale back to neutral. Hands come to your heart, and just take a moment. Close your eyes, reset any body part that feels either a little bit stiff or like it's maybe not quite positioned properly. You want to have your feet about hips width distance apart, just a little softness to the knees, and feel like your joints more or less are stacked. So knees above ankles, hips above knees, shoulders above hips, ears above shoulders. And again, your breath is the ultimate test. If you can't take a deep breath, you got to change something. Take another big breath here. And then we'll inhale together, the arms circle, reach those arms out and up, and dive forward as you exhale. Let your knees bend a bit, drop the crown of the head, and just hang as you inhale, rise halfway. Find a long spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, now stand tall, rise all the way up, sweeping those hands above the head. Big long stretch and exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, lift. And exhale, dive forward. Inhale here, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up. Feel the power through your legs. Big long stretch of the arms. Then exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, dive it down. Inhale here, halfway. And now hands to floor. On the exhale, your right leg is going to step back, lower down onto that right knee. And you can walk the hands back a little bit, but just give it a few little pulses here. So you're going to push your hips back. You're going to drop your hips forward. Not quite, as far as you maybe would go in a full half split, but just enough to get a little stretch in here, the back of that left leg. Sinking forward to get that little stretch in through the hip flexor on the right side. Let's give it another breath, just a little heat, a little warmth happening here into the legs. And then whenever you bend that left knee deeply again, try to let your hips really settle in. Take a moment, lift your left toes, and then spread the toes as you lightly set them back to the floor. Try to really feel like the four corners of that left foot press down, and inhale, rise. Hands can come to a wide V, very consciously plugging your shoulders in. Staying nice and lengthened here through the back of the neck. I always want you to feel that good lift through the crown of the head. Hips very much sinking. Let's take another big breath in. And then exhale, lower your hands down onto the mat. We're going to tuck the back toes and step to plank. So as you inhale, that left knee comes back next to your right. And then all the way to the belly as you exhale. Feel free to drop your knees first, to push the elbows back as your chest pulls forward. Come all the way down, toes untuck, legs lengthen. And then inhale, shrug the shoulders back. We're going to take the hands back towards a locust. So hands can either stay parallel or you can clasp your hands together, whatever works for you. Push down a little bit into the tops of the feet this round. Try to feel like your chest pulls forward as it lifts. Your knuckles push straight back behind you. Let's take another breath in. And then exhale, lower, bring your nose to the floor. Hands are going to slide under your shoulders. Take a breath in, squeeze the elbows towards your body. Nice strong core as you exhale, straighten the arms, push back to all fours. And then toes tuck, lift up to downward dog. Pedal it out, give a little wag to your tail. Take a full deep centering breath. So the deepest breath in and out you can take. And then from here, we'll inhale that left leg high. Kick your left foot up to the ceiling, big lift. And exhale, step your left foot forward nice and lightly between your hands. Perch up to your fingertips as you inhale. See if you can sink those hips nice and low. And then just step forward as you exhale, right foot joins left. Again, knees bend, head hangs heavy. Take a breath in as you lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, now come to standing, anchor down, lift up. And exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, rise again. Take the arms up. And hinge as you exhale, bowing straight forward here from the hips. Inhale at halfway. And now hands down on exhale, your left leg steps back. Take a big long step, lower down to that left knee, and then walk your hands back just a little bit for some clearance here. You're gonna do that same little pulse. So just move it front to back. You can always take some sort of prop, something under the hands if you like. Just give it a few little pulses here from front to back. Another breath. And once again, when you bend that knee deeply, take a moment to lift your toes and just deliberately spread the toes. See how the arch stays lifted on that foot when you really root into the pinky toe edge of that foot. Push down through that foot and inhale, rise up. I'm going to try to still keep those toes spread, the four corners down. That really does help keep that front knee a little bit more stable. It does actually utilize the muscles of our feet a little bit differently as well. And breathe. Just keep that breath strong, keep that gaze soft. One more big inhale. And then lower hands on exhale. We're going to move into plank once again, so those elbows can stay soft. Taking a breath in, right foot steps back. And all the way down as you exhale. Again, knees can be lifted or lowered. But take it super slow, coming down onto the belly. The toes untuck once you get there. Legs nice and long behind you. And as you inhale, rise to that locust once again, either hands parallel or clasped. This time, if you'd like to lift the feet, you can flare your toes and push through the balls of the feet. Couple big breaths. I want you to breathe deeply enough that the breath actually rocks you a little bit. You actually feel a little bit of movement when you breathe. Another big breath in. And then lower. This time as you exhale, we'll pause for a moment, one ear to the floor. Give it about 2 big breaths. Doesn't matter which side, we will switch. And then lift the head, opposite side, other ear to the floor. About 2 big breaths. Coming back to center. We'll inhale, hands back under your shoulders. You can tuck your toes in, either push to plank this time or all fours, your choice. So super strong core. And as you exhale, you're going to lift back up, either plank or all fours. And we meet back in downward dog. Pause here, deepest breath in and out. And then on that next inhale, right heel high, take a big kick. Step it forward on exhale, perching right to your fingertips. And as you inhale, lift the chest just a touch. Hips stay nice and low. Step forward on exhale, feet parallel, moving back to the top of your mat. And that next inhale, we lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, now stand tall, root down through the feet. Big, big reach to the arms. And exhale, hands to heart. Just take one breath per movement here, one round of a modified sun salutation. We'll inhale, hands overhead. And exhale, dive forward. Inhale, halfway. And now right leg back on exhale. Step long into your lunge. Your right knee is going to come onto the floor. Hips sink and inhale, sweep the hands above the head. Exhale, land your hands to mat. A little softness through the elbows. Taking a breath into plank, that left foot steps back next to your right foot. A breath out, downward dog. Send your hips high. And then on that next inhale, take that left heel high again. Kick it up to the ceiling. Big step forward on exhale, coming into your lunge, perching to your fingertips. And as you inhale, tiny little lift to the chest. Exhale, step it forward, both feet top of your mat. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stand tall, root down and stretch long through the arms. We'll exhale, hands back to heart. Final round here. Big breath in, reach it up. And exhale, dive down. Inhale here, halfway. And now your left leg back. We'll exhale, long step through that left leg, left knee on the mat. And a big breath in, the hands sweep above the head. Exhale, hands to floor, fingers spread, elbows soft. We're going to inhale into plank, so that right foot joins the left foot. And exhale, back down dog. Inhale, this time your right leg high, kick up. Exhale, step it forward, perch to your fingertips, and take a big breath in here. Exhale, step forward, back to your forward fold, right up to the top of the mat, and then all the way up as you inhale. Take a nice long reach through the arms. Hands to heart as you exhale. Start to send your hips back for chair pose. Bend the knees quite deeply. Keep the weight in the heels, but the toes just still lightly connected. If you can see your toes peeking out in front of your knees ever so slightly. And just really push that butt back. Give it a few big breaths. Try to feel the weight spread pretty evenly through both of your feet. Completely up to you. If you want a little bit more challenge, a little bit more heat, a little bit lower with the hips, just find that point where you're feeling it. You're getting some work, you're getting some strengthening, but you can still breathe deeply. Take another big breath. And then we'll rise on that inhale all the way up, taking a nice long stretch. And hands to heart as you exhale. Big breath in, rise. And exhale, dive it down. Inhale here, halfway. And now right leg steps back. We'll exhale to warrior two. So take a big step with your right foot and pivot that heel to the mat. Your inhale takes you up, your front heel somewhere aligning along that back foot. And then arms stretch out nice and long. So get a good reach to the arms, not to the point that you feel stiff, but to the point where you feel engaged. So you're actually using the muscles of your arms a little bit, but still relaxed around the shoulders. Give it a couple deep breaths. I want you to still feel like you're rolling back ever so subtly with the shoulders. You get that nice broadness, that nice opening happening here through the front of the chest. Let's take another big breath. Reverse on your inhale, sweep that left arm up and back. And then we're going to stay here as you exhale. See if you can bend your front knee just a little bit more. Nice strong lunge here with that front leg. We'll take one more inhale. And then exhale, sweep it down. Bring your hands to the mat, lift your back heel off the floor. Now have a look at your feet. You want to have at least hips width distance apart, so heel to a bit wider with the left if you need. We're going to find crescent lunge, so bend the back knee a bit and inhale, take the arms up overhead. So your back heel lifted off the floor, your shoulders again stacked above your hips. Keep a little bit of that core on so that we don't pop the ribs forward. And again, just a couple nice deep breaths here. Try to feel some good length here through your side bodies. Nice long reach here through the arms. Take another big breath in. And then as you exhale, lean forward a little bit, bring your hands all the way down to the mat. So hands can be just a little bit ahead of your foot here. Scoot that right foot way back and inhale into a twist, your left hand up to the sky. So take a moment and let that left arm lift nice and tall. Big long reach here through that left side. We'll take one more big breath in. And then lower the hand as you exhale, lower your right knee. If you need a little more cushioning for that knee, you can always double up your mat. That's always an option. But your half split, we're gonna walk the hands back. Now, if you'd like, we're gonna be here a little bit longer this time. You can always use your blanket or any other prop here to just give yourself longer arms. But try to feel like those left toes curl in. You're pushing down a little bit through the left heel, but there's still a softness to your left knee. Hinging deeply here from the hips and breathing fully. Give it about 3 more breaths. And that next inhale, knee bends again. Sink nice and low, we'll sweep it up. Take the hands overhead. And then exhale, fold forward. Bring both of your hands to the floor. That right foot is gonna move up next to your left foot. Take a breath in, we rise halfway. Big breath out, fold in. All the way to standing on your inhale, push down, stretch the arms, big reach. And exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, bow forward. Inhale here, halfway. Now left leg back as you exhale, step to warrior two. Big step with that left foot. Root the heel down and inhale, push through the front foot, come on up. This time, lift the palms of your hands and bend the elbows just a little bit so we're not stiff. Again, we're soft. Try to get your depth by bending that right knee rather than leaning the torso forward at all. Find a drishti, so a spot to rest the eyes. And give it a couple more of your biggest breaths. So if you can't actually feel the breath, now's your chance to deepen that. One more breath here. Inhale, reverse. Take that right arm up. Really stretch into that whole right side. Stay here as you exhale, bending the front knee a little more deeply. Just feel that heat in the legs. We'll take one more deep breath in. And then down all the way as you exhale, cartwheel hands. Again, make sure to lift your back heel. Check those feet to have them hips width apart. Back knee bends and inhale for crescent lunge. However smoothly or wobbly you come up, come up. And then once you're still, relatively, try to just set the gaze. Again, find a drishti. Anytime there's balance involved, which obviously a pose like this there is, you want to look around, not a whole lot. You want to just focus the eyes to one spot. Let's take another breath in. And then exhale, sweep it down. Front knee bends a little bit more, back leg straightens a little bit more. We plug that left hand to the floor and inhale the right hand now up to the sky. Try to keep your hips pretty low. That bottom hand, fingers spread, elbow soft. Another big inhale. And then lower the hand as you exhale, lower that back knee, and start to crawl it all back right into your half split. So again, hands can come onto something. Notice if your hips veer to the left at all, try to square them in towards the midline. Keep that hinging from the hip, keep that steady breath. Take just a couple more big breaths here to try to feel just that gentle pull down the back of the right leg. One more breath. And inhale back to your lunge, sink the hips again, reach it up, hands stretch above the head. And exhale, lower hands to the floor. I was gonna say heart, not quite there. Bring your hands down and inhale, lift that back knee. We're just gonna step it forward. So left foot back up next to your right foot. And inhale, rise halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stand tall, root down. Again, sweep it up nice and tall through the arms. And exhale, hands back to heart. We'll inhale once again, rise up. And exhale, tilt forward, dive down. Inhale, halfway. Once again, that right leg back. As you exhale, we'll come straight back to warrior two. So pivot that heel down and take your breath in, come on up. Stretch long through the arms, sink those shoulders in. Take another big breath. And this time on your inhale, reverse triangle. So same reverse, but we straighten that front knee. Try to make sure you're not locking out that knee and you're still really pushing in the pinky toe edge of both feet here. Take another breath in. And then level out the arms as you exhale, setting up for triangle pose. Again, front knee soft. You're gonna tuck the front hip a lot and take a big breath in. Your left hand reaches as far forward as you can. Keep your left side just that long as you exhale to lower the left hand. So your left hand can rest either beside or onto the leg. Just try not to put a ton of weight in it. And then again, you have options to play a little bit with the head and the neck. So maybe you take a moment, look up towards your top hand. Take a moment, look down towards your front foot. One more breath here. We're going to inhale straight through that reverse triangle again. So keep the front knee straight, reach that left arm up and back. And this time, level out the arms to T. As you exhale, pivot the front toes in. Look at your feet and try to align the feet pretty well with one another. little bit pigeon-toed. We'll inhale, squeeze the hands together behind your back, lift and puff that chest here. And then make sure your knees are a little bit bent. Exhale, hinge forward, set your belly down into your lap, let your crown of your head point towards the floor, your knuckles lift to the sky. Now your alternative is to just take the hands down to the floor. So if this is bothersome in any way, just bring your hands to the floor. Take another breath in. And then hands to floor. As you exhale, if they're not there already, bring them down and start to take a little shift and a little bit of movement from side to side. Another breath. And that next inhale, halfway lift, perch up to your fingertips. Find a nice long spine and exhale, bend that front knee, pivot back to face the front of your space. And this time we're going to take the hands out in front of your foot, rise up to your fingertips, and a brief warrior 3 prep. Now, you can have your hands on the floor. You can always use some sort of a prop if you'd like. You have a water bottle, you have a blanket, but try to square your hips towards the floor. Your right toes point towards the floor. Your spine stays long. Take another breath in. We'll exhale, meet in chair pose. Send that right foot next to the left. Drop the hips back and inhale, reach the arms out and up. Just a couple big breaths here. Try to stay fairly low on the legs. You're going to feel that little bit of strength and heat. One more big breath. As you inhale to stand, try to avoid locking the knees. Lift everything in a tiny cactus as you exhale, peel that chest open. Squeeze the belly tight. Inhale back to center. And exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, lift it up. And exhale, dive down. Inhale, halfway. This time your left leg back as you exhale, step it long into warrior 2. Pivot the heel and take a breath in, rise. Just a couple breaths. Try to stay pretty low in the legs, level through the hips, level through the hands and shoulders. Breath nice and strong. And then that next inhale, reverse triangle, front knee straightens, reach that right arm up and back and pause here. Really feel that good lengthened space down your right side. Another breath in. And then exhale, arms to T. Keep that front knee a little bit soft. We're going to tuck the front hip a lot and a big breath in. Right hand reaches forward. Exhale, tick-tock the hands, right hand down, left hand high. Again, not a lot of reliance on the right hand. Try to feel your waistline here. So both sides of your waist are engaged and long. One more breath. And inhale it back through your reverse. Right hand reaches up again. Arms to T on your exhale. Right toes pivot in. Take just a tiny lift to the chest here. We'll inhale the hands overhead this time. And then just dive it straight forward as you exhale, lowering your hands to the mat. Walk your hands forward about 1 handprint. So now you've rocked the weight forward a little bit. You should feel a bit heavier in the balls of the feet than you just did. Take that that right hand right underneath your face. So right hand right underneath the face, and then inhale, left hand up to the sky. So you're still rocking forward a little bit. There is some weight that you're pushing into that right hand. Another breath in. And exhale, lower. Left hand replaces right, so left hand under your face. Keep the weight hinging forward and inhale, right hand to the sky. One more breath in. Exhale, right hand down. Give it just a couple more breaths if you'd like to just fold forward or move a little bit, side to side, front to back, nod, shake your head. Just explore a bit. Take about 3 more breaths. And then inhale it halfway up, perch to your fingertips, lengthen your spine. Right knee bends as you exhale. We're going to pivot back, crawl to face the front of your space. And again, walk your hands out in front of your feet here. Lift up to that 3-4 or 3 prep. You can stay on your fingertips, or once again, you can always use any sort of prop that might be nearby. Push back a little bit through that left heel. Try to feel your legs nice and strong. One more breath in. And a final chair pose as you exhale, left foot lands, hips sink back. We take a big breath in, reach the hands above the head. Hands to heart as you exhale, sink a little bit lower, and then find that little lotus mudra with the hands. So bring the pinky fingers together, the thumbs together, but flare the other fingers out. Push those hips way back. Take one more breath. And then rise as you inhale, lifting that big lotus here above the head. Tiny little back bend. Squeeze the belly and exhale, circle hands back to heart. Pause a moment, close your eyes. Just reconnect with your breathing. Take one more deep breath here. And on that next inhale, arms sweep above the head. As we exhale, dive forward. Inhale halfway. And hands down on exhale, step to dog, pedal your legs. Give it a little bit of a shake and a wiggle. We'll take another breath in, and as you exhale, making your way to child's pose, your knees lightly connect to the mat. Your hips push back to your heels, your torso just sort of rest into that space here between the knees. Let your elbows and your forearm bones heavily rest on the mat, your forehead touching down. If not quite to the floor, you can always stack your hands under. And then just close your eyes and take a few of your deepest breaths. Take one more big breath. And then as you're ready, slowly begin to rise. Come back to all fours. Walk your hands in under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. Give just a last reset here. We're going to come down onto our backs, but you're going to need your blanket. So take your blanket and just make a fairly thick fold of it. So we're going to do a restorative bridge pose. So you're going to want something you can put down underneath your hips. So if you take that blanket, and it's really up to you. You can keep it, a couple inches thick. You can fold it a little bit thicker if you know you like to have more lift in this pose. So really up to you. If you fold it, at least the studio blankets pretty thick like this is probably pretty comparable to a block. So if you feel like a block is too much in a restorative bridge pose, you can always not fold it quite as thick. Come on down onto your back. We're going to lay down and just start with the windshield wiper of your knees. So let's start with a little reset to that low back. So spread your arms out wide and just slowly begin to rock your knees. Drop them from side to side. Take another big breath. And then both of your feet can lift. Now, if you have a block, you can always use a block instead. Otherwise, just lift your hips and slide that folded blanket underneath your sacrum. So you want to make sure that it's good and supportive. The nice thing about a blanket is it's a pretty big surface area, and it's also a little softer. And so it comes right underneath your sacrum here. So around where that belt line would be. And it should lift your hips and hold your hips up for you. So the intention behind a more restorative bridge is, bless you, is that you don't have to hold your hips up yourself. So I don't want you to feel like you're really using your legs or your glutes that much. It's more just a support thing. And typically in bridge pose, we have the feet about hips width apart, knees, whatnot, facing forward. Restorative bridge, feel free to take the feet wider apart. Let your knees turn out a little bit, as long as your knee and your toes point the same way. And just spread those arms out nice and wide. Once again, see if you can just center back inward and Relax the muscles of your jaw, of your face, of your hands. Deepen your breath and really just try to feel that fullness of your breathing. We're going to be here for just a little bit longer now. If you're feeling pretty good, you can stay. If you'd like to get into the front of the hips a little bit more, have your feet about hips width distance apart, and you can start to walk your feet further forward. So you might crawl your feet forward, a step or two, or you might straighten the legs all the way, keeping your feet on the floor, but straightening the legs all the way so that you get into the front of the hips a little bit more. Now, if that bothers your low back, just walk the feet in until you don't feel pressure on your low back. Couple more breaths. And now if your legs have straightened at all, slowly start to walk your feet back in. Now, we're going to be here for a few more moments. If you've had enough of the blanket, just take it out. If it's starting to bother your back, just remove the blanket. But otherwise, we will take our feet up towards the ceiling from here. So you can lift your feet towards the sky and just start to move your legs a little bit. So whether you're pedaling or scissoring the legs or just pointing, flexing, obviously if the blanket or anything needs to be adjusted, please do. You want to still feel like it's giving you that full support. And then take a few breaths and just let your legs be fairly still. So not that we're trying to control the legs or force them into stillness. There shouldn't be anything stiff about this at all, but just let the legs float. You're not really trying to move them, but you're also not really trying to keep them still. They just kind of do their thing. Knees soft enough to make this feel pretty just easy and relaxed on your body. And give it about 5, 6 more of your deepest breaths. Another big inhale. And as you exhale, bend the knees. If your low back is okay with it, just a brief squeeze, knees to chest, nice and tight. Take a breath in. And then lower your feet down to the mat as you exhale. We'll push the feet into the floor and lift your hips. Take the blanket out from underneath. And just slowly slide that blanket over to the side. Once you reset your hips back to the floor, you can pause a moment and just let things reset. But whenever you're ready, you can move into a little windshield wiper of the knees here. Take another breath. And then keeping that left foot on the mat, let's inhale, grab your right leg, hug your right leg just briefly to the sky. Let your hands really more so than anything, just anchor the back of the leg. So we're not trying to force it straight. We're not trying to pull it a whole lot, just kind of anchoring. Take another breath in. And then exhale, bend the right knee. Now your hands shift to the front of the shin. And now you can add a little pull if you like. So if it feels good, you can pull that knee in a little bit closer. You can also just let the weight of your hands do the work if that's enough. And you can stay here. You can also experiment with straightening your left leg, keeping it on the floor, but straightening it if that is something that feels okay to you. So either option is good. Let's take another breath in. From here, we're going to exhale into the twist. So straighten your left leg if it's not. Take that left hand and use it to pull the right knee across. As that right knee pulls across, your right arm reaches out to T. More important to keep your right shoulder on the ground than to try to get your right knee anywhere near the ground. And again, just deepen your breath. See how much space you can find here through your breath. Left hand can be giving just a little bit of weight here to that outer knee, and it's going to move the stretch into your right glute, most likely just a little bit as well. And now these last couple breaths, if you'd like a little more for the head and neck, just look over to the right hand. Another big breath in. And exhale from the belly, right back to center. Grab the right knee and give it one more squeeze. Take a deep breath in and then forehead to knee. As you exhale, curl into that little bit of ball. Take another breath in. And then lower as you exhale, head to floor. Drop that right foot down. And now inhale, grab the left leg, hold the back of that left leg, and just lightly pull it up towards the sky. Again, nothing forceful, nothing super intense. You're fairly relaxed, really just using your hands as an anchor. Another big breath in. And then as you exhale, knee bends, grab that left shin, hug it into your chest. And this time, again, if you want to add a little bit more intensity, you can actually squeeze as opposed to just letting it drift in. And then lastly, if you'd like to straighten that right leg, and take it straight from here. Take another inhale. And on the exhale, move to your twist. So right leg straight if it's not. Now guide that left knee across, reach your left arm out. Keep your left arm nice and heavy. Left shoulder, I should say. Nice and heavy. And then finally, you can always look over at that left hand for these last two breaths if you'd like. Another big inhale. And exhale, squeeze the belly, bring it back to center. Again, left knee, this time it squeezes in, take a big inhale. And forehead up to knee as you exhale, curl in. Take one more breath in. And gently lower as you exhale, head and foot to mat. Now set right foot next to left foot. Give a little windshield wiper, a little rock of the knees. And then on that next inhale, once again, hug your knees to your chest, this time both knees. Grab the front of the shins, take a breath in. And as you exhale, consider lifting forehead to knees. And this time, if it feels okay, keep your forehead up, but straighten your arms and let your weight of your knees lift another vertebrae or two off the floor. So chin's a little bit tucked, but really big stretch into that upper back. One more big breath in. And then gently release as you exhale, head to floor, feet to floor. You can give that final windshield wiper. We are going to start making our way to Shavasana from here. So if there's a pose you were still hoping for, this is your chance. If there's a last little bit of movement, maybe it's just a final stretch or a little wriggle, or you start to set your little nest up with some props. So Shavasana can be that much better using props. If you're chilly, cover up with your blanket. If you feel a little bit stiffer on the low back, taking that rolled blanket back behind the knees. Lots of things you can do. And eventually you're going to start your descent into really just the most comfortable shape you can come into, whatever that means for you today, whether the legs are bent or straight, wide or narrow, whether the arms are on, close to, or far from the body. Just get comfy. Do give just a little tuck of your shoulders here. I want you to feel like the chest is nice and open, nice and broad. And we'll inhale here together. Take the biggest inhale you can possibly take. And pause just a moment here, hold your breath. Big exhale, let every single drop go. And as you do, truly now just give yourself the space to let go and surrender. No longer trying to control your mind, your breath, your body. Just let it all go. Start to notice your breath, just beginning to breathe a bit more deeply. And as your breath expands, some small wiggles, just little movements of your toes and of your fingers. Gentle roll of your ankles, of your wrists, slowly shake the head no. Next, inhale, full body reach. Let's stretch and lengthen the body long. As you exhale, knees bend. Hug your knees to your heart, squeeze tight. Big breath in. And as you exhale, roll to whichever side it is that's most comfortable for you, and pause there to take a big breath. Eventually anchor down, push into your top hand, and just feel your way up. Ease your way into a tall seat. Finding space where you can sit with the breath. Settling hands into your heart space. We'll close this morning with one final shared breath. The next time you inhale, arms circle. Take a big stretch above the head here, reaching tall. Palms connect. Exhale, hands to heart. Thank you all so much for being present here this morning to share your breath, your energy, your practice. Have a wonderful weekend, and namaste. Thank you much. Let's have a beautiful day. Thanks for coming in. And thank you for those popping in virtually. Have a good one.